It was my first semester of college, and I was filled with anticipation and excitement. Little did I know, it would turn into a semester of fear. I moved into an old dormitory, known for its creaky floors and eerie ambience. My roommate seemed nice enough, but there was something off about him. He was obsessed with the history of the building, particularly a tale about a student who had vanished decades ago. As the semester progressed, strange things began to happen. I would hear whispers in the night, see shadows moving in the hallways, and feel a chilling breeze even with the windows closed. My grades started to suffer as I became consumed by fear. My roommate's obsession with the old tale grew, and he began to act strangely, muttering to himself and spending hours researching the missing student. One night, I awoke to find my roommate gone. I searched the building and found a hidden room filled with old photographs, newspaper clippings, and a journal belonging to the missing student. The journal revealed a dark secret about the building and a ritual that had gone horribly wrong. I realized that my roommate had been trying to recreate the ritual, believing he could solve the mystery. I rushed back to our room, only to find my roommate standing in a trance, chanting words I couldn't understand. The room was filled with an unnatural cold, and I felt a presence watching me. In a panic, I grabbed my roommate and pulled him away from the ritual. The room shook, and the presence vanished, leaving us both terrified and shaken. We reported everything to the college authorities, and the hidden room was sealed. My roommate left college, and I transferred to a different dormitory. The rest of the semester passed without incident, but the memories of that horrific experience lingered. I learned a valuable lesson about curiosity and the dangers of obsession. The old dormitory still stands, and students still whisper.
I still remember the first day I stepped onto the campus of Willowbrook University, a place filled with history and whispers of the past. The excitement of a new beginning was overshadowed by the rumors surrounding Hawthorne Hall, my assigned dormitory. They said it was haunted, cursed by a tragedy that occurred decades ago. I didn't believe in ghosts, but the stories were enough to send a chill down my spine. The first few weeks were uneventful, filled with classes, new friendships, and the typical challenges of college life. But as the semester wore on, I began to notice strange occurrences in Hawthorne Hall. Doors would creak open on their own, lights would flicker, and I would hear whispers in the dead of night. My roommate, Emily, was the first to experience something truly terrifying. One night she woke up screaming, claiming she saw a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed. I tried to calm her down, telling her it was just a nightmare, but the fear in her eyes was real. The rumors about Hawthorne Hall began to make sense. They spoke of a young woman who had met a gruesome end within those walls, her spirit trapped and seeking vengeance. The more I learned, the more I felt her presence, a cold, lingering dread that settled in my bones. One night, I decided to explore the forbidden wing of Hawthorne Hall, where the tragedy had supposedly occurred. Armed with a flashlight and driven by curiosity, I ventured into the darkness. The air grew cold, and the silence was deafening. As I walked down the creaking hallway, I stumbled upon an old photograph, a portrait of a young woman with sorrowful eyes. Her face was familiar like a distant memory. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the hall and the lights went out. Panic set in and I ran, feeling her presence behind me, her anger, her pain. I barely made it out, my heart pounding, my mind reeling from the terror. I never went back to that wing, and I never spoke of what I saw. But the memories haunt me, a constant reminder of the horror that lurks in the shadows. The rest of the semester was a blur, overshadowed by fear and paranoia. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that I could be the next victim of Hawthorne Hall's sinister past. I survived that semester, but the scars remain. Every creak of a door, every flicker of a light takes me back to that place of darkness and despair. I share this story as a warning, a chilling reminder that
I never thought my first semester at WSU would turn into a living nightmare. It all started with an invitation to join Unnamed, a fraternity known for its prestige and influence on campus. Little did I know, the dark underbelly of the pledging process would reveal horrors beyond my wildest imagination. The initiation rituals began innocently enough, with camaraderie, parties, and the promise of lifelong friendships. But as the weeks wore on, the hazing escalated, becoming more brutal and degrading. Inspired by real-life tragedies like Martin Samuel's death at the frat house due to physical hazing and excessive alcohol, our fraternity's rituals took a sinister turn. One night, we were led to the basement of the fraternity house, where the older members had prepared a ritual that would test our loyalty and courage. The room was adorned with symbols of Satanism, and the air was thick with the scent of burning candles. We were forced to participate in a series of gruesome tasks, each more horrifying than the last. The rituals were designed to exploit our desire for acceptance, power, and success, much like the nightmarish world portrayed in the horror film Pledge. The hazing became a scenario of desperation and torture, culminating in a shocking finale that left us all scarred. One of our pledges, a young man named Michael, was subjected to a fatal beating that exposed the abusive practices within our fraternity. His death was a grim reminder of real-life incidents like David Michael's fatal beating. Michael's death was ruled an accident, but rumors swirled about the fraternity's involvement. The case remained unsolved, and the shadow of guilt hung over us all. The fraternity's reputation was tarnished, but the members closed ranks, protecting their secrets at all costs. As the semester continued, I couldn't shake the feeling that something more sinister was at play. The rituals had awakened something dark and malevolent, a force that sought revenge for the horrors inflicted upon it. I began to investigate the history of the fraternity and discovered a series of tragic incidents dating back to the early 1900s. Each death was linked to hazing, each victim a pledge who had suffered at the hands of the fraternity. The most chilling discovery was a journal from a former member, detailing a pact with demonic forces. The fraternity had embraced Satanism, offering sacrifices in exchange for power and success. The journal described rituals, spells, and the summoning of dark entities. The semester's biggest frat party was approaching, and the anticipation was palpable, but I couldn't shake the dread that settled in my bones. The party was a facade, a cover for something far more sinister. As the night wore on, the party descended into chaos. The music grew louder, the drinks flowed freely, and the atmosphere became charged with a dark energy. The fraternity's leaders had planned a ritual, a sacrifice that would cement their pact with the demonic forces they had summoned. The party became a frenzy of debauchery and violence, mirroring the ultra-violent horrors of fraternity hazing depicted in real-life stories. The frat party was in full swing, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The leaders of the fraternity were acting strangely, their eyes filled with a dark hunger. I knew that the ritual was about to begin. As the clock struck midnight, the partygoers were herded into the basement, where a makeshift altar had been prepared. The room was filled with symbols of Satanism, and the air was thick with the scent of fear. A young pledge, trembling with terror, was brought forth as the sacrifice. The leaders of the fraternity began to chant, their voices rising in a fevered crescendo. The room was filled with a dark energy, and I could feel the presence of something ancient and malevolent. The sacrifice was made, and the room was filled with a deafening silence. The dark entity had been appeased, and the fraternity's pact with the demonic forces was sealed. The rest of the semester was a blur, overshadowed by the horrors I had witnessed. The fraternity's influence grew, and they achieved fame, fortune, and success, just as they had sought. But the price of their success was high. The dark entity demanded more, and the rituals became more frequent and more brutal. The fraternity's members were consumed by their lust for power, and they lost all sense of morality and humanity. The campus was filled with rumors of the fraternity's dark deeds, and the unsolved case of Michael's death hung over us all. The police were unable to prove anything, and the fraternity's secrets remained hidden. But I knew the truth, and I knew that the horrors were far from over. The dark entity was still out there, waiting for its next victim, hungry for more. As the semester came to an end, I stumbled upon a hidden room in the fraternity house. Inside, I found a collection of journals and documents detailing the fraternity's history and their pact with the demonic forces. I learned that the fraternity had been involved in Satanism for generations, and that their rituals were part of a grand plan to summon a dark god. The sacrifices, the hazing, the debauchery, it was all part of a twisted game. I knew that I had to stop them, but I was just one person against a powerful and ancient evil. The fraternity's leaders were ruthless, and they would stop at nothing to achieve their goals. With the knowledge I had gained, I confronted the fraternity's leaders, determined to put an end to their reign of terror. The battle was fierce, and I was outnumbered and outmatched. But I had something they didn't: the truth. I knew their secrets, and I knew how to stop them. In a desperate struggle, I managed to destroy the altar and banish the dark entity back to the shadows. The fraternity's leaders were defeated, and their dark pact was broken. The fraternity was disbanded, and the house was left abandoned, a haunting reminder of the horrors that had taken place within its walls. The semester ended, and I left WSU, forever changed by the events I had witnessed. The memories still haunt me, and I know that the dark entity is still out there, waiting for its next opportunity. But I also know that I have the power to stop it, and that knowledge gives me hope. The horrors of fraternity hazing, the dark underbelly of college life, the unsolved cases, they are all part of a larger battle between good and evil. And I know that I will be ready when the battle comes again.